These are the best graphic settings to help you massively improve your frame rate and visual clarity to help you see your enemies better in those dark, shadowy corners. First of all, head into the display settings. This should all be fine on default, but head into brightness and change this to around 55. But if you can't see this like I can, this is because your display isn't the same as mine, so you will need to play around with this a little bit here to see what works personally for you and your monitor. For Nvidia Reflex Low Latency, if you're not on PC, you won't see this, but if you are on PC and you know your system is CPU bound, then change this to on plus boost. If you're GPU bound, then change this to on. If you don't know which one you are, be on the safe side and have it on plus boost, but you can head over to the benchmarking tool in game to find out which one you are. For eco mode preset, change this to custom. VSync on both need to be set to off, and custom frame rate needs to be set to unlimited. Menu render resolution set to optimal, and pause game rendering set to off.
Reduce quality when inactive to off,
alongside focus mode being put to 0. Make sure that HDR is set to off, as this just doesn't really work that well in COD. Move over to the quality setting and change the render resolution to 100 and the dynamic resolution set to off. For upscaling and sharpening, set this to fidelity CAS, and under show more, change this all the way to 100. And no, you don't need to be on an AMD GPU for this. I'm on an Nvidia 4070 and it works perfectly fine, but this setting looks way better than all the other upscalers out there. For VRAM scale target, max this to 90. However, if you do get a lot of stutters in game, try to lower this down to either 80 or even 70. Variable rate shading is set to on, as this will drastically improve your frames in game. As for FLS frame generation, turn this to off, as it will improve your FPS by a lot, but will drastically increase your input delay, meaning when you press shoot, it will take longer for this to happen. However, if you are on a 4050 on a laptop, maybe consider turning this on if your frames just aren't enough, but it should only be used as a last resort. Moving on to the textures, here's where you need to be honest with yourself. If you have a beefy rig, then high is fine, but if you're running something old, then change this to low, as it will just massively improve your frame rate. For texture filter anisotropic, set this to low. For depth of field, turn this off. Nearby level of detail, turn this to low, and particle resolution set to very low. Bullet impacts needs to be set to on, and persistent effects set to off. Shader quality set to low, and demand texture streaming, change this to optimized, and change allocated texture cache size to the lowest possible. Local texture streaming quality, set this to low. For shadow and lighting, go for the following: normal, off, 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 and low. And for the environment, you want this off, low, off, off, and off. Moving over to the view tab, change motion reduction to off, then under FOV, put this somewhere between 110 and 120. But if your PC is struggling for frames, then the lower this is will mean more frames for you, and the higher it is will mean the less frames. But given that you gain all this extra information in game by having it higher, it is definitely worth the reduction in frames. Then for ADS FOV, make sure that this is set to affected, and the weapon and vehicle FOV is set to wide. Then for camera, make sure world and weapon motion blur are set to off, as this will lead you to miss important information, and first person camera movement is set to least, and inverted flashbang is set to off.
Then head down to interface, where you need to change a few more settings, tab over to readability, then head into color customization. Then scroll down to color filter and change to color filter 2, then make sure color filter target is set to both, and world color intensity and interface color intensity is both set to 100, as this will make your game way more vibrant, allowing you to distinguish your enemies from the background better. You can ignore that I've got color blindness settings turned on. I have this on just because I make content and I want to make sure everyone can see properly.
However, if you want to know the best audio settings to help you hear footsteps better, or the best controller settings to help you significantly improve your KD, then click on one of the videos on screen now.